So when did you originally sign up for REI Sift in the very beginning? Do you know when you
That
originally
was, I
signed
want
up?
to say, maybe early September.
So like early September, didn't use it, canceled your account, came back,
Yep,
was like, yo, if people are having success with this, I want to learn it. Found out
exactly.
about the auto lead gen challenge, went through the auto lead gen challenge. Now explain to me kind of like how did you end up structuring your business? Because ultimately what we really want to do in the Ninja Cast is we want to understand what was the difference between your business before and then what was the difference after. Like what are the actual things that you implemented? So like what kind of data do you have in your company right now? What do you pull? Where
Yep,
do you pull it from?
yep.
And then what happens to that data after you bring it into your company?
Good question. So right now, or will we basically, so we have an admin, we have a cold caller, we have a private investigator who basically does deep dive search on properties that nobody can find numbers on. So before that, we were just buying a bunch of data from various sources, list source, PropStream, and then we'll get data from the county, which is usually the best data. Um, so we were getting all that data, and then we were just sending out RVM campaigns. Well, after October challenge, what we did is we actually sat down and we said, okay, this data we pull every single month, or this data we pull every single week. Thank you for that title, by the way, because we didn't really have like a structured way of doing it. So after that, we took the data and we said, okay, let's buy high equity and let's run all that through. And really quick, I think another key thing was that another area where we waste a lot of data was we were skip tracing a lot of the same information. We didn't have any way of knowing. So let's say that we bought a list of, I don't know, 10,000 records. Okay. Well, maybe a month ago, we ran that through and cleared out maybe 4,000 records that we already had in our system. Well, if you do the math, 4,000 records, if you times that by, I don't know, I think we get charged point 15 cents or 15 cents each record to get skip trace. Well, if you do the math on that, that adds up, right? You're like, okay, well, maybe it's a couple $100. Well, if you keep buying data and you keep doing that, you can only imagine how much that adds up. So I had my admin, we all took a look at it, and we probably saved just on that about $400, right? So
Yeah.
and then we have more data that the same thing. We already had information in there. So we ran that through and we said, okay, where is the data that we have in our system that's on multiple lists? Maybe there's no phone numbers. So we started taking those data and we started running campaigns on those specific data because those were really the best ones.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So basically you took all the lists that you had, right?
Hmm.
And you said, okay, instead of just downloading them and then just skip tracing them and then RVMing them and then just kind of spitfiring it, you took each
Yep.
of
That's
those
what.
lists, you named them specifically, you organized it so that you can have a clear view of kind of what the landscape looked like in your data. And then
Absolutely.
you said, okay, let me look at what is skip traced. You found some that were skip traced and you found some that ended up being skip traced but didn't get any results.
Yep.
And you basically did what we call data segmentation, and you segmented out those into different buckets so that you
Hmm.
could decide where you want to put your marketing dollars.
Absolutely.
That's what it sounds like. So you went from kind of like a little bit of chaos and just kind of throwing it out there to more structure so you can kind of keep a hold of it. So
Yeah.
what was the original type of data that you started focusing on? Because what happens a lot of times is people have like a lot of data, and then they might have, let's say, 100,000 records. And
Hmm.
after like the auto lead gen challenge, they end up focusing on only like maybe like 5 to 10,000. So like,
Yeah.
what was your case? Did you end up focusing on a majority? Did you focus on vacants? Did you focus on stacks? Did you focus on an ouchie?
Yeah.
What did you guys focus on?
Yeah, good question. So we started focusing more on it was tax delinquents, it was probates, tired landlords, and uh, basically stacking the data on those.
Okay. So you kind of did like a niche stack on specific types of data.
Yep.
Okay. So then now, what kind of market did you still do RVMs, or did you switch up your marketing strategy at all, and what kind of outbound approach you did?
Yeah, no, so we still did the same marketing. It was just that it was more targeted and we
Gotcha.
narrowed down. Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's more niched, and at
So
first it
you
was just like a shotgun approach.
so are you still only using RVM as your primary tactic right now?
No, RVM, cold call, and SMS. And we do
Okay.
bandit sign stuff like that too, but for
Okay.
our
So you
us.
are you doing any sequential marketing? Do you have a system where you're flowing through? Are you hitting all those at once, or do you do RVMs first and then cold calling, or how do you handling that?
Good question. So typically we SMS first, and then after we SMS a few times, maybe 3 times, then we'll move that to the RVM. Um, Before we weren't taking the landlines and running those through the cold calls. Now we do that. Okay,
Yeah.
so because RESF helped us. First, we just uploaded all the data and we were just RVM, or but SMS and all that, it only goes to mobile, right? So we were missing the ones with the landline. So we extract that and ran those to the cold call. But yeah, we SMS, RVM, and then we ring that out and send it to the cold call.
Okay, got you. So you have a process behind that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then, after the Auto Legion challenge, and you kicked up your guys' first campaign, in our notes here, I see say things really click. Sign back of RSF. Lock down 2 deals in 2 weeks by remarketing to existing data. So can you
Yeah.
run me through? Or can you run me through like what was the existing data? Was it the data basically you already, but you didn't buy anything more? What did you had you already been through that data once or twice, and then you like just refiltered and focused more on it, or like how did you end up pulling out? Because this is a big thing a lot of people have. Like they think that some people think that when they start with REISIF in general, they have to get all new data because they've already marketed to their old data. But that's not the case because
Right.
the properties are the properties. The properties don't just disappear, right?
Right.
So explain that for people on how important it is to make sure that you just if you had data from 2 years ago, it's still valid because you could
Man,
upload it to REISIF and some of that shit could be vacant right now. So can
man.
you run through that and give some advice for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had I remember this too. So we had a list, but it was tax delinquents. It was dated back in April. Okay, so we had that. We hit it one time. We hit it one time in April. Okay, then in September when we got REI SIF, we uploaded that data. Well, after the lead challenge, I went back to my partner. I said, "Hey, we're not going to buy data for maybe a month because we need to focus on going back to the existing data that we have." So we went back to the tax delinquents that we already had in our system. So that was basically just sitting. It was gold that was just sitting there. Well, we remarketed to them, and literally like in a week or two, we got a deal from data that we already had in our system from 6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
crazy, dude. So
It's crazy.
do you remember which marketing strategy kicked up the deal? Was it the RVM, the cold call, the
RVM.
SMS? It was
Yeah.
RVM. Dude, that's
RVM.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
So when you're doing RVMs right now, I'm curious, just in general, because it's since I have you here, are you right
Okay.
now tracking any of the phone number responses? Are you doing the updating of phone numbers right now in REISIF, and have you gotten it through that rabbit hole yet, or are you just using it to build campaigns right now?
It's still somewhat like a little. It's here
Half
and
and
there,
half.
right? Yeah, we use Roar,
Mm.
so they don't tell you like they don't. The only thing they tell you is like the phone number. It doesn't tell you like which property. But what we do is we'll say, okay, whatever leads go through our Podio system, we'll take that and say, okay, they say do not contact, because maybe they call back, or maybe it was the wrong number, or if it is a lead, we'll update REI SIF, and then the rest of them will basically go through and say, okay, there was no responses, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't run through our Podio system, so we didn't get a call or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we go and tag those as no responses,
Got you. So here
right?
soon, just because you're on here, and there might be a bunch of other users here that are using Roar. Um, some people want to do this and some people don't. But by the end of this week, our integration with REI Rail will be finished. So with REI Rail, it does have the RVM stuff, which is really effective. A little bit more expensive than Roar, but when you talk about opportunity costs and what you might be missing and how much you might be spending, what you'll be able to do is when someone comes inbound, if it's the wrong phone number, you can
Mhm.
tag it as wrong phone number and it'll automatically update REISIF. You can use Zapier for that right now if you had
Yeah.
REI Rail. Or if for our business plans, I don't know which one you're on, but on our business plans, you'll be able to use the connector directly, so you don't have to pay for Zapier. So that might be something that you might think about, because I mean, you guys get a lot of wrong phone numbers as when you RVM, and if you're not updating, especially since RVM is your top of funnel, you can then say, okay, well, let me remove all those wrong phone numbers. That way, when I do my SMS now, I'm not re-spending it again. So it would compensate for that, maybe that extra you'd be spending in RVMs. But just a thing out there for everybody. Definitely think about that. Okay, cool. So what was after you did that RVM, it kicked up. What did you do after that? Like, you kicked up this first deal after coming through the auto lead gen challenge, not your first deal, but your first deal with REI SIF. What did you do, like, to repeat that process? You know, did you guys change anything? Did you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to hit other data, or did you just go back through tax delinquencies again? What happened?
We went back through all of our. So I told my partners, like, look, this REI SIF is like everything. Is going to be everything to our business, because I was like, we don't need to buy any more data. I can't remember. It was maybe for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months in between there. So we literally, all the existing data that we had, we really just went back and remarketed to all of those before we buy any other list, right? So, yeah, out of that we got 4 deals, right, and within the 2 months. Then we went and bought more data, and then I need to go back to KPIs, but maybe another deal or two deals out of that. Right.
So then, right now, out of curiosity, I mean, are you still marketing to and niching down into those other that old data right now, or are you only relying on new data?
We do both.
Okay.
We'll do both. So, but really, it's like, you know, because what we'll do is, for instance, right now we're running a stack campaign. It's RVM right now. So, in which we actually got 2 deals from it. So it's stacked data right now. So we went by seniors, I believe it was in December. Okay, it was a new list, but we also had existing seniors. So we were like, okay, we already had attempt 1 on the seniors, so we took those, made it attempt 2 plus the new data, and then obviously we did a stack campaign. So we know there's seniors, probably I know like tax delinquents and some other ones mixed. So
okay. So you're basically, you're still basically doing a thing where you're just grabbing a niche core amount of that and then just marketing back to it. You're just combining the old stuff with the new stuff. After you market through the old stuff a certain amount of times, you then move it to SMS or move it to cold calling to hit through them that way. Is that right? It's kind of your flow.